Hey, welcome to Moving Matt. We do all things cameras with a dash of vlogs and a little bit of travel. And today we got some big news coming out of Canon rumors about the EOS R7. And apparently it may be closer than we thought. So if you happen to be unfamiliar with the Canon EOS R7, essentially it is supposed to be Canon's flagship APS-C camera, and a lot of people have been looking forward to this camera, especially wildlife and sports photographers. Now, we've heard very little as far as the specs of this camera, but something we have heard in the past is that Canon is developing a BSI APS-C sensor. Now, Canon rumors has speculated that it will be somewhere between 28 and 32 megapixels. To my knowledge, the megapixel count was pretty much pure speculation, but it sounds about right for me, and I think a lot of APS-C shooters would be very happy with that megapixel range. Now, we did also get a rumor recently saying that they were developing a camera that would kind of be a mixture between the M50 and the 7D, which sounds like it would be this R7 camera. Now, I'm guessing that this would be a flagship APS-C camera, so not exactly an M50, but what I think that they may mean by this is that they will also be marketing this towards video creators. I know that the M50 has been something that a lot of video creators, not necessarily in the camera space, have used. So I'm thinking that they may be using this as saying the next step up for people who have been using the M50 as far as the video capabilities, as well as being a mirrorless update to the 7D. Now, the reasons that I think this is most likely is because in this day and age, a lot of people expect their cameras to not only have great photography specs, but also great video specs. So I think that just makes sense as a progression of the time. Now, if I had to guess, this will have very similar specs to the R6. So I would think that it would shoot somewhere around 20 frames per second electronic and 12 frames per second mechanical. And then I would also think that it will have 4K 6010-bit, though if this is a 24 megapixel sensor or even up to 32 megapixels like Canon rumors is suggesting, then I can see it maybe downsampling that 4K from 6 or even 7K. That would be a big draw to videographers, especially if the BSI sensor can keep the low light good. Now, I wouldn't expect this camera to come in any less than $1,800, but I wouldn't be surprised even if it goes up to say $2,200. Now, the big lead that I kind of buried a little bit is they are saying that this camera could come out as early as March, or at least being announced as early as March, even if it isn't shipping until a later date. Now, they did say that this is a CR2, meaning they got it from a really good source. They don't consider it to be fact, but again, it is a really good source. They did mention that, of course, with the chip shortages and all the supply chain issues, that it's definitely subject to change, but I think that's pretty much par for the course with any camera at this point. But the fact that they are even mentioning it in March, or at least saying that they are getting hints that it's going to be in March, I think that that means that it's going to be much closer than any of us thought or any of us even hoped for. I do think that it makes sense for it to come out around March, or at least be announced around March, because the summer months are big for travel, and I can see this being an excellent travel camera. Now, two big questions that I have is, well, will this ship out with any APS-C lenses? I think that a lot of people would at least hope this will have a few APS-C lenses to come along with a cropped sensor. That is a big question that will hopefully be being answered over the next couple of months. Now, another big question, and especially if you are a Sony shooter, is will Sony have a camera that will match this, or at least be competition for this camera? And the answer to that is maybe. According to Sony Alpha rumors, there is a camera that is supposed to be a surprise camera that is not necessarily going to be a follow-up to any of the cameras in the past. I can foresee this being a A7000 type camera, so it's going to be a new, maybe more flagship APS-C camera. Now, of course, this is complete speculation, especially coming from Sony Alpha rumors, but at this point, with Nakashita no longer being on Twitter, they are pretty much the only game in town, or at least the only semi-reliable game in town, at least until I can learn how to read tarot cards. I think that that would be quite a bit more reliable than Sony Alpha rumors. But that is all that I have for today. If you've liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And until next time, peace.